This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, done. Now
No,
let's
thank you.
you can see my screen, no?
We're able to. Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so what we are going to do today is we saw SOAP services, right? So let's just recap SOAP services. The same lines we have to do, the REST services. So if you look at the SOAP services, we did these two exercises, right? Once this is the generation of the service and this is the consumption of the service. So your Pega is here, and then you are, so there is some service available here at the SAP side. You're trying to request for the service. Sorry, so this is generation of the service. So Pega, we are now the service is generated here, and this SAP application is requesting the service. So one is generation, one is consumption. So this we did with SOAP. So what is SOAP? SOAP is a simple object access protocol, and this was developed long back when XML was the means of communication between in the internet in between the internet domains. So so SOAP usually uses SOAP is based on XML, and SOAP is good in authentication in terms of the services which are being exposed. So we did service generation. So please practice all this because it's a complicated topic. Once you practice, once, then also you will have many questions. Then you have to practice few times, understand a lot of basics of SOAP, a lot of basics of request response object, what is service package, what is service rule. So I've all mentioned all this. Go through my tutorial and find out. Sorry, go through my recordings and try to understand that. So when we generated the service, what we did, we created a service called a SOAP service, and then we created a package called a service package, and then we created request and response. So we did a bit of construction also. We created the request and response classes so that the service package and service rule binds them and uses them for the generation of the service. And after we did that, we had to create an activity so that whatever we are request we are getting, we respond back with the correct data for by connecting the activity table and giving the information. So we did for SOAP generation, and this is for consumption. The same way we have to do for REST. So what is REST? SOAP is something 10-15 years back. SOAP was, whenever SOAP came into being, it was more of XML. The transfer of data is from the host and from the client is basically through XML. Now, because what they found is this XML becomes very huge when you have to transport a lot of amount of data. So what they did is they used REST. Now what is REST? Representation state transfer. So in this one, they used something called as JSON notation, JSON, that is Java Server Object Notation. So I'll show you what is Java Server Object Notation. And in Java Server Object Notation, uh, the amount of data which is being transferred between the host and the client considerably reduces, which makes it very lightweight. So REST is very lightweight, and most of the organizations now prefer REST. SOAP is also good. I mean, used if you have your data is not too much being transported, but REST is something which nowadays is being used. So we'll see what is REST. So before you go to REST, you can see you can browse the web for some you know uh, sample REST service JSON. So you can if you put like this, you'll see some sample web services, Java JSON RESTful web service examples. Okay, so to SEP service to consume. If you put like this also, you'll get a lot of. So this group KT, if you go, there are a few web services which are already available. So if you go to this is just to give an idea how JSON, REST service looks like. Okay, you already saw what is SOAP service in my last class, right? So we'll see how a REST service looks like. Now, if I click on this service, this is how your uh, REST services look like. It'll have, this is called as a this is called as a literal, this is called as a variable, and this you will have this as a parameter. So once you pass, now suppose I click here, So you will see so this is how the JSON will look like, and this is how the rest looks like. In if you look at SOAP, it will be all XML. So suppose I put here. So if I put here India, then you can see that. Let me mute you all. Okay. Okay, so well, if you look at the service, if you put India, you will get this. It will give you everything information of India. So what they have done is basically this is a response. So you gave IND as input, which is basically your country code. Sorry for that. So if you put IND as the country code, you can see all the states of India, Jammu, Kashmir, Jharkhand, everything it has listed. If you put you know USA as a state, you will find all this. No, Alabama. See, you put gave the this as the input, and then you got this other response. Right. So similarly, we'll have to create rest. This is very lightweight, and this is what is rest response looks like. Okay. Any questions, Naresh, Mohan, Madhu? If I go before I go ahead.
No, Shiva. So maybe that parameter will hold all the values which are under India.
So if you put, see, we have to configure this. Okay. In here, the services which they have configured, they have put India as input, IND as input. That is your
Okay.
request. That's a request
Okay.
object. Once you hit this, you will get response object. Now what they have done is, this is one. I mean, this is just repetitive. If you consider one thing, suppose you're considering this, the response object has, ID, country, name, area, largest city, capital. So these are the response they have given. Okay.
Yeah.
So similarly, we can build one like this, like India input and, output as this. Okay.
Okay.
So in our example, we'll create one first and then go for like an page list. We'll create first a page so that it works. It's not that going to be very simple. We have to do a lot of configuration, right? So let's target one and see. So we'll put like maybe we can use the same example, or you want any other example, I can take it up. Suppose I put IND here, then I should get an IND result. If I put USD here, I should get the result. Okay, we can do that way. But this is we have to do in JSON format. Okay. So for that we need for that we need again construction like we did for, I don't know whether I showed you about, anyway. So we need few constructions to be done similar to do SOAP, like we did for SOAP or REST. We need construction. What is construction? I'll show you. When I say construction, what are classes you need to create? Okay. Naresh, you have any questions? You're okay. Madhu is not there today. Okay.
Okay, so I'm able to understand.
Yeah. So what will happen in construction is what we're going to do is construction. Construction is basically to create the request and the response object, right? So that the services can understand. Request and response are major. That are the main things. If you have to tell Pega, even if you're consuming or generating the service, request and response is the major thing. Okay. So we need to do the construction. What we need to do, we'll create main class. And then suppose I'm creating for this. What is this? We'll say uh, um, so I'll say main class as India states. I can put India states. India states as the main class. Okay. Then I need how many classes? You guys remember? Then I need class called as one is request, and then I need class called as response. Okay. Then in the request class, I need what? IND will be a request ID. So in this, I'll create one. I'll put state ID, and this response I'll give the response. What all I need to give? The response I'll give.
Response states, all
Yeah, no,
states.
no. All this variables.
Yeah, okay, okay.
So we'll say state ID. This is already there. Then we'll say country ID. Then we'll say name. We'll put state name. Okay, state name. What else we need? You want
And
abbreviation?
then
We can put state abbreviation. That is short form. Okay, and capital. We'll put capital. That's enough, right? No, you don't want to put too much. So we'll create. So we need to create these. These are the classes. Okay, there's a class. This is a class. These are what? Properties.
and Shiva, they have shown the in the document showing area code in that will change dynamically, right?
No,
Area code.
this all coming from the database. All these values are coming
Okay.
from database. We have to create that,
Okay.
right? We'll create that. So this is the main. So that will all come as construction. Okay. Then we have to create DB table. Right? We'll create DB table. What all we need for the DB table? We need all this as columns. Correct? These are the
Yes.
columns because this is what will be responding. So this is the construction. So we need to create main class, integration class, DB table. Okay, and then we'll go and create our uh, we'll create REST services. No, we'll get REST service. We'll create REST service package and all those. First, this has to be the construction. Okay. After this construction, we are going to create REST service rule like we did for SOAP. Then we'll have REST service package, the same as this one. And then once we create this, we need to create some. Once we create a service, we create a service. We'll create generate the URI, which is called as a JSON URI, which is basically your sorry, the REST URI, basically URL, and then we test it. Okay, so this is the generation part, and then we'll have this is generation, that is, and here we'll have console. So we'll see this. You guys understood?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. In between, I'm sipping my tea. If it's disturbing you, tell me. Okay, so remember this construction is same for SOAP and REST. Once you practice, you'll understand them. But I think you understood, right, what I'm trying to do. Then we need to, once we create the classes, we need pages also, right? Here we need pages also. Remember, right? We need 2 pages, request and
We need
response.
2 pages, flow action and flow.
Yeah, so that will come already. That will come during consumption, not during generation.
Yeah.
One second. Sugar in here. Okay. Okay, so let's start. So now we go to our App Explorer. How we did for SOAP service? So if you go, remember we always have to do an integration layer. Now we are talking about integration. So if you go like this, here I by mistake, where is that? REST service. Last time I created by mistake REST service and put everything, whatever SOAP I created here, but that's fine. So remember, this is the main class. This is the to request and response class. And when you break it up, you should say this. This is your final goal. You should have this request and this should have a response. This is your final goal. And this main integration class should be given to the, when you configure the REST service, you should give that. Okay. So we'll first let's create a table, and we call this table as what? We'll create a table, and we'll call it as now. Okay. So we'll do it very quickly because you guys know all this, right? I don't want to waste time on all this, right? We'll put in our data layer as usual. So do we have our data, INT state info, submit. Then we'll create these columns. We'll create everything text. Okay. Now you guys can create as you want, but I'll create everything text so that we don't get any data related errors and all. So I'm going to create very fast. One is state ID. So I'll put IND state ID. Then add. Next is country name abbreviation capital. Okay. Now you guys know that what we'll go to sources, create a local source. Now what will my state? In IND state ID will be my primary key. You can put some values here right away. Capital. So if I'm talking about Maharashtra, sorry, this is MH, right? I don't know why did we put this. Anyway, what is this? Say failed. Failed to find instance Pega accelerated task. What nonsense? Data table editor that customer infosec of type. Who is doing customer infosec? Hmm?
Is pointing to customer data.
Yeah, this usually is created by Pega. See, this is usually created by. So remember 7.4 they have this different schema, right?
Yes.
Whatever we created goes here. But this error is showing of then I went away. It's showing of customer info table. Let me see if this is the cause. Done. I don't know. Sometimes it goes crazy, man. Okay. No, the error was related to something else. Anyway, so India state ID. I'll put IND01 capital state abbreviation state name. Something is going wrong. Something is wrong here. Can I remove this? Can I delete this table? I created a new one. I cannot delete this.
Yes,
Huh? I don't understand the error actually. Just a minute.
No, your voice is not audible.
Hello. Hello. Hi, Shiva.
Oh, sorry. I was talking on mute or what? What nonsense. You can hear me now?
Now we can, but previously, whatever you did know, we were unable to hear that. We were unable to listen that.
Yeah, nothing else I did. Actually, I was getting error, huh? You, you saw the error which I came, right? So I started again a new table, nothing else. So I started a new table. You got know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
No, I didn't know that I was on mute. So this we have to put. It is asking for the column actually. State table ID, then state capital, state abbreviation, state name, right? That is one. So this is the column and that is the data, right? So we'll just save this. The same, the CSV file which I opened. Now again I'll import. So what I'm trying is when I put here, it's giving some error. I don't know why, what's happened, but I need to check. Something's gone wrong. So now it's mapped properly. This is a CSV file. This is the Pega. Correct, no? Mapping is correct. So why it is not inserting? We don't know. We'll see that later. Okay, our database is created. Now I'll go to create our. Now I'll create what? Do our construction. Hmm? You guys are there, right?
Yeah, sure.
So we'll go and create our. So we'll go to this. Means here I'll create it. Maintenance. So can you guys mute yourself? So will the India AND states response. So state table response. We'll put that. So we'll put state table. There's a main state table class. Okay. There's a main class we have to use. Then we need to create. So let's refresh this and see. So your main state table will come here. Then we need to create these two classes similar. Okay. So we'll go again here. We'll create one more, which is response. Okay, so now if I refresh, you should see our state table. This is the main, this request response. Then what you'll do here, we have to go and create a property. What property will create? We'll create state table ID. Okay, we'll be create. So here we have to create what all? We have to create state capital, state abbreviation, state name. We'll also create state table ID just for the sake of it, so that the mapping is done. We know for which ID belongs to what. Okay. So these are so once we create all these properties, we have to go to our main class and then create data model. So this is very important. From this only it will understand the request and response object. We'll give this as request. Create and open. Then we'll point to which class? Here's the one we created. So this is this one. Okay, you point to this. Similarly, we'll create So after do your construction, you should verify whether things are correct. Then you go to this main state table class, and you should our structure should be correct. If this is correct, it's got right. State table ID, everything is correct. So this is done. So our construction is done. Now what do we do for REST service? So REST service in 7.2 there was no API, no wizard. In 7.4 I heard there is some wizard. Say simple REST wizard for Pega Express it says, but I don't know whether it's there for our application or not. But we'll do our normal way, which doesn't we don't the wizard make it create very quickly, but I'll show you the normal way we have to create. And basically the wizard also will do the same thing. So first what we need to do is we need to create one service package. So we go to records, we go to integration services. Okay, we go to this service package. Okay, right click here and create one. So we'll create for our service. So state table, rest service, rest we know, and this is package, package. So I can put the same name here, and then create and open. So once you create and open, it'll ask you the access group. Go to your operator, select the administrator group. Okay, then put it here. Remove the request authentication now because we'll test the service. We'll do this later. Okay, now just save this. We need to revisit this back once we create the REST service rule. Just save this and keep it here. Then after we come back, it will generate the URI. Next, what we do is, so we created a service package. Let me remove all this down here because it's kind of clutter. Okay. Now what we'll do, we'll go and create the service. We create a service package. We have to create the service rule. So go for service REST. Right click here, create. So give a service name, that is state table service. Service package name, the one which you created, this one. The one on this one, state table service. Come here, state table REST package. That's why I put package, so they know what's it. Okay. Version you can put anything, put 01. Then URI. So we have to build the URI template like this, whether / state. You saw that, right? When I was showing you there. So we have to build like this. Okay, say build URI. So it'll ask you two components. Okay, you have to add one. So one is the literal component, that is this part. Okay, so I'll put state info. That's a literal, and then the next part. What is it?
If you don't mind, what is URI?
Is universal locator or something. URL is locator. URC is identifier. I think. Check in the web. URI.
Okay.
It's used for, yeah, it should be identify your universal resource identifier. State, you put state ID. Okay, so you put this as variable. So this part is for this one. No, sorry, this part is for this one. This is your state info / state ID will be a parameter. So put literal variable. You can add multiple also, but now we have only one, right? See this state info state ID. Okay. Now you create and open. So once you create and open, you get, this is your universal URI, 8080 PRP, your package info, your this is your service information. This is your package name. This is a version, and the state info and state ID. Okay, you can create like this multiple out there. Okay. So page class. Now what do we give this? We should give our main integration class. Which was our main integration class? BOI int main integration class. This one. Okay, because this holds the state request and the response object. Okay, data transfer, leave that. This is the page name which will hold the information. Request clipboard. Now remember here we have to, this URI should come from the request object, not from the parameter. So go here, take the request dot state. Okay, so this is all okay. Then we go to methods. So you have to go and get method. There will be different methods and REST service, unlike SOAP service. This is getting the information. This is posting, like update information. This is two are posting. If you want to delete some information, but this all will require authentication. So let's first just work on get first. So it says activity name. Okay. Now, what are we doing now here? So basically, this is my external application, and in this external, this is my external app. Suppose this is my external app, which is like SAP, and now this is my app. This is my Pega. So what are we doing here? We are generating a service, right? In Pega, I am generating a service. So this is my service. This is my service which is open. This is what I'm generating. So what will happen is, basically what we'll do, SAP is going to give you a call, right? SAP will say, give me the state information. And then I'm going to respond back, right? So this is my request. So I collect my request here. And then I respond back, right? So I got the request, okay? Now I have my table also here. My table is sitting here, right? This is my table. What's the table name? You know that, state table ID, right? State table, one which we created. So we need an activity here. We need an activity here, which will, so we need an activity here, which will, take this information. So whenever the call is done, this request object, the SOAP rule, all the SOAP package will, call this activity, and this activity will fetch that from the database, information database. Suppose it passes S01. I need S01 information, goes here. The service rule will call the activity. The activity will fetch from the database and give it back. Okay, and the activity will also put it in the response object, so it will go back. So this is, we have to do this. Okay, that's why this service rule is asking for the activity. So we have to create the activity. The activity has to what? Read the database and give the information. So we'll save that. You're getting me, guys, what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
Shiva,
sir.
here one small doubt. So we are getting the request from SAP, right?
Yeah, any system. Just imagine that you're getting from any external system. No? We are now generating. We have to
Okay.
imagine, right? Some.
So we are getting the request from any external like SAP or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it may be,
yeah, yeah.
OpenAI or
Correct, correct. So that is the first part, right? That's why we are generating this red star, right?
yeah,
That is
yeah.
what we're doing. Okay, so this is the activity. That is what, now we need to have this pink color stuff done. So what we do, we know that this service request is coming from the primary object. So this primary object holds information. So, and we need to connect to this database, right? So we need to first create our database. When I create a database, I mean, refer to our table. So our table is where? State table, right? So we'll put here, this is my state table page. I need to collect one parameter because this request object will need to have the S01, which is being transferred. So I need one parameter. So I'll say state P, you can say, okay? And then steps. Now what we need to do first is page new, right? My state. So I got a reference to my table, okay? Then I'll add stuff. Now what we need to do first, the request object should be collected to our parameter. So we'll do a property set. And then we'll go here. We have to collect in our parameter. So parameters where this is the parameter. Now where does the request object comes? It will be in primary. Okay, you go to primary dot request dot state. When I say primary means why? Because this is the source. This is the previous page, right? Okay, so the property set is done. Once you do property set, then what we need to do? We got S01. Now from this list of records, we have to find out S01. So if they pass us S01, then we have to find out country, name, everything, right? So we need to query the table. How do we query the table? obj open.
open.
Yeah, obj open. Then we'll do which class? Our table.
BOE data
Now state table. Okay.
state table.
Yeah. Now we need to what we need to query where your your table name, which is this one, table ID dot your table ID. Okay. So equal to your parameter ID. Okay. Your parameter basically. This parameter has that S01. No? So it will open the records with S01 and then put it here. So this one has all the records. Now once this has all the records, you need to put it back to the, once the query is done, your state table page has all the records, one record. We need to put it back to the response object. How do you put it back? Same thing. Properties. Okay, we'll do open this. So we have to go one by one. Now we have to put it the response object. Primary dot response dot. We have to select each one. Okay. Primary dot response dot.
State gambit.
Primary dot response dot state name. Primary dot response dot set table. Okay. So we'll go again here. So this is all collected in this page. Remember, this page has all the information. So your abbreviation, capital M. So say this. So that's how we did. We first did a reference to our database pay table. We collected the information of this request ID in the parameter. We opened for S01 that from the table all the records. Then we set it back to the response object. Okay. So so go to where this here we are filling, right? Remove this and open this again. State rest stat. Okay. This should be there. Again, you have to go to security. You have to make sure that this is, this is going to be service, right? You have to remove this and you have to put this here. Okay, and check out. Save. Check it. Okay. So this is important. What to do?
Shiva, can you just hold on for 1 minute? While giving the description for any history for while creating class or property, or else while doing check-in and check-out, should we give any meaningful description or comment?
You can give, because suppose you are importing this and exporting this and importing somewhere else, so you might have different versions. You will see different versions. No? So if you give proper
Yeah.
history, then you will understand. Oh, I created for this. I created this for this. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So right now we are in actual real business scenario. You will always create history, right? Because Pega resources, nobody stays, right? Everybody runs away, jumps from one organization to another. So it is
Yeah.
always recommended that if you are developing, you create.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
So yes, so we got the services created. Now the request object is fine. We had to do something with the response object. Okay, so in the response object, you need a. If you look at the output, what happened? Now in the response object, we need to remove this, and then you have to put a JSON format. Okay, that curly braces format. Okay, here also you have to put JSON, and here you have to use the response. The response object should be thrown out. Whole response, right? Save this. So we configured the response, we configured the request. We need not do. I mean, we put this activity, so it will take there. Then service we generated, so we are good. Okay, so this is our URL. So what you need to do is, again, you have to go to this. I told you we have to revisit back, and then refresh this. So you will see, all these things getting done. Save this. Okay, so it will understand everything. So here you can test few things. So if you go here, test. So you see this, how it has come. This is a URI which is getting created. Now let's see what our table holds. Suppose I put S01. Okay, where is that? Suppose I put S01. Look at here. Okay, so if I put S01, look at here. This will change to this becomes your URI. So we'll also test. Testing is very important. Is it coming? Maharashtra coming, right?
Yes,
You see
yes,
that?
sure. Yeah.
And
It's coming.
suppose S02, then also see the information. Okay, so this is one way to test. We'll cancel this. So we are good in this. Now suppose I go to this one. Okay, this is my service rule. Okay, there is also something. So what we'll do is we'll on the tracer. Okay, and then here also I can run with the. See, I can run here like this also. So what you have to do is you have to put here. Okay. Is it this one? Is it this one? Let's see. Yeah. So here also you get, right, Maharashtra. So this is also another way to test. So once you do this, you can check the tracer. So you can see this. Initially, my service page is a page created when it started. Then it went to our OBJ open, which is our activity. then it set it. And so if you look at my service page at this side, you should see that this was a request, this was the response, and it has populated everything correctly. This is where you to trace it. If something goes wrong, you should trace like that. And if you go here, my service page may not have, initially it is only having the state ID because it's not yet done the response. When you go at the same object here, you see, so you can see how to trace this. So this is another way of testing. So what you can also do is you can take like this, you can put it here, and then yes, 02 you'll get from the browser. So there is a third way to do it. There is something called as SOAP UI, which I downloaded. So here I showed you how to test with the external, right? SOAP UI, doing SOAP. So let's see how we can do with the rest. So remember, when I'm connecting and doing all this, you have to imagine whether it's being called from an external service, right? You have to imagine that way. External app like SAP. And these are very important. Please practice this because the interviewer is going to make you ask 1,000 questions on this. So once you practice, you'll understand what we're talking about. SOAP, why we need a SOAP rule or REST rule, or why we need a package, right? The package, it generates the URI. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So please practice.
Shiva, that URL, endpoint URL will get created by the reference of URI.
That is endpoint URL only. What is this?
Yeah. So we are giving the information while creating that URI, right? We are giving the proper input where should it get table names, X, everything. So based on that, the URL will get created by the Pega.
Correct.
Okay.
Subway DL definition, Swagger Open API definition. Just I will tell you guys how to integrate with this external system. Yeah, it is created. I think it'll create from there. So it will create all this request ID. So it's here, raw request ID, state ID. Okay, so I'll pass S01 and then I'll run it. So you see, you're getting it here. So I got to put S02. It's actually now this is an external Mohan. This is an external system because this is an external API. not even touch Pega. Okay, this outside I'm doing. So it's basically calling this service. Then Pega is returning this information. Huh? From it's
Okay.
going to the database, getting this information and doing. Okay. So that's how these calls will be done from the Excel system using this URL. They will construct this URI and this S0 V3 will come at the end and then you get this back. They have to collect it. Okay. So do it that way. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking I'll finish the consumer also, consumption part also, but I think we'll do it tomorrow. Services will take time, 3-4 classes for sure.
Okay, sure. No problem.
Okay, sure.
Anyway, okay, so practice that, and then tomorrow we will do.
Consumption.
So tomorrow we'll do consumption of a service, and then there is a file service. Okay, so tomorrow will be done with services part, but and then we'll go to something called as agents. Then after agents, we'll be doing case management, and after case management, we have to do harness. Or probably we'll do harness before that. So these are the 4 important topics. Make sure that you practice and you ask me any questions you needed. Okay.
Sure, definitely will come up
Okay.
with. Okay,
Thank you,
sure.
guys. Have a good day.
Okay.
Yeah.
You too have.
Thank you.